Hello, my name is John Burton. This is a presentation on the restoration of the Owen Brown Gravesite, which occurred in the end of July and the beginning of August 2021. The restoration is a project of Save the Altadena Trails, STAT, and the Owen Brown Gravesite Committee of the County of Los Angeles. The Owen Brown Gravesite Committee consists of Michelle Zach, our chairperson, myself, John Burton, the vice chair, and two members, Diane Markison of the Altadena Town Council and Marietta Cruels, representing the trail activist community. STAT has been represented throughout by its council, Paul Ayers, who is also a dedicated activist to trail restoration and maintenance in the Altadena foothills. Our story begins when Owen and Jason Brown, two sons of the great abolitionist John Brown, moved to Pasadena and settled in Altadena. They came west with their sister, Ruth Thompson. Owen actually participated with his father and some of his other brothers in the historic raid on Harper's Ferry in Virginia, what is now West Virginia, which occurred in 1859. As we all know, John Brown was captured along with most of the party and was hanged for treason. Owen Brown escaped. After living as a fugitive, he wound up settling in this cabin with his brother, younger brother, Jason. And I picked these two photographs. The one on the left is taken to the north with the mountains in the background. The one on the right is facing south with the Los Angeles Basin in the background. The hill to the left of the cabin is Little Round Top, named after the pivotal point in the pivotal battle of the Battle of Gettysburg, which turned out to be the turning point of the Civil War. Owen was quite a celebrity in his day. He was very proud of his beard, and people would come and visit him. There was a growing African-American community in Southern California, which understood the heroic role that he and his father and the abolitionist movement had played in the lead up to the Civil War and the eradication of slavery. There are many such photos of people visiting Owen at his home in the Altadena foothills. Well, Owen passed away actually on January 8th, although the given date is January 9th, 1889, and a massive funeral, in fact, the largest ever held in Pasadena up to that point in time, took place on the 10th. The building at the left was the Methodist Episcopal Tabernacle, newly built near what is now the intersection of Marengo and Colorado Boulevard. It actually was then as well. On the right, we see the funeral attendees, some in buggy carts, some on foot, pouring out of the tabernacle onto Colorado Boulevard, and on the roughly 7-mile trek from there to the top of Little Round Top, where Owen would be interred. Here is the original grave. There are no photos that I know of the interment ceremony itself, but this is the original grave with a wooden headstone and a red cedar planted in his honor at the original location. 9 years later, after the original ceremony, a new magnificent granite headstone was placed on the grave, and there was quite a large ceremony. And this picture survives. This shows the different backgrounds of the people who turned out on this January day to commemorate the great abolitionist. Owen Brown, son of John Brown, the liberator, age 64 years. That was 1898. In 1901, the city of Pasadena, which was settled by migrants from the Midwest, was a decidedly Union town. And what is now Memorial Park in downtown Pasadena was established, and this statue in 1901 of a Union soldier was erected to commemorate the struggle to preserve the Union and to establish a nation without slavery. This was connected very much with the attitude of the stone that was placed on Little Round Top. And it was an answer to another trend that was going on at that time, a despicable trend, which had the historically false narrative that the Civil War was a lost cause of the Southern Confederacy that was fighting for some sort of principles or state rights. And it resulted in several of these statues to Confederates that were erected around the country that have largely been removed over recent years. This is the importance of restoring the gravestone today. Well, for the first half century, the gravesite was maintained by a great nephew of the Brown brothers, Edward Simmons. He actually lived in Millard Canyon nearby, and he cared for the gravesite by going up there first with horse and buggy and on foot, and then in his truck with water to water the plants and preserve it. And it was his dream that the gravesite would become a memorial park for John Brown and the abolitionist movement. And I think we're making dramatic steps toward that today. Well, several things happened in the next 50 years. First, Edward Simmons passed away. The gravesite was abandoned and fell into disrepair. The land passed from private owner to private owner, none of whom was able to develop it. On more than one occasion, the stone was actually dislodged and rolled down the hill. It was recovered, and finally it was set in a concrete collar, but in the wrong location. And that's, for many of us who used to visit the stone in the 1980s and 1990s, remember it in that wrong location. Well, in 2002, the land changed hands again, and the new owner did what he could to block access. And the stone also disappeared. Neighbors in the trail that leads up there, the El Prieto Fire Road, also worked with the Lincoln Avenue Power Company to close access to that road. Well, fortunately, Save the Altadena Trail, STAT, with the support of several neighbors and really the tireless work of Paul Ayers, who's featured in the center of this photograph, that was taken, won a case and established for all time the public right of access on on the El Prieto Fire Road to the summit of Little Round Top. And this is the 2006 Martin Luther King Day celebration, which is also a celebration of the access. And that's our chairperson, Michelle Zach, in the pink coat on the right. This was a happy day, but it was tempered by the fact that the stone was gone and presumed missing. What happened next is that neighbors erected these temporary signs as placeholders so that people who came to Little Round Top would at least see something that would indicate the historical significance. Now, on August 23rd, 2012, something very important happened. Ian White, son of the fine artist Charles White, was hiking and found the gravestone where it had been rolled down and buried, and then some of the surface eroded. He understood its significance, and he collaborated with two other neighbors, Glenn Samuel in particular, and his wife Leanne, and they were able to recover the gravestone and store it and protect it until suitable arrangements could be made to restoring it to the top of Little Round Top. In 2017 and 2018, the Viña housing development, which was on the hill directly east of Little Round Top, which was very controversial and unpopular with many people in West Altadena, wanted to develop what is essentially an undeveloped donut hole in the middle of their project. This was originally intended to be open land and a school. And as the gated community went up, it made little sense to have a school and open land in the middle of a gated community where it could not be enjoyed by people in general. So a deal was worked out with the developer, Cantwell Anderson, and in particular Tim Cantwell, who agreed to purchase Little Round Top and then set up a $300,000 community benefit fund in order to restore the gravesite. And that was in fact done. The committee was set up and worked with STAT, who, as part of its judgment of access, had a right to erect a monument to Owen Brown on the top of Little Round Top. This is Paul Ayers, and he used the photographs that exist of the grave in its original location to locate the appropriate site where the stone belongs. This required clearing the brush that existed on the west end of Little Round Top, which it turns out had also eroded somewhat over the last more than a century and needed to be built up. So a retaining wall, and our contractor, Cliff Douglas, did a magnificent job of using this native stone to build a retaining wall. This is on the west side of Little Round Top, and grade it so that the stone could be returned more or less to its original position. On July 27th, all the stars were aligned. The Glenn and Leanne Samuel brought the stone from their garage. It was placed in a wheelbarrow and taken up the trail from Theo Clark's property, who was very generous in letting us use that. And the Lowe's let us cross their land to get there, and brought up the trail to the summit of Little Round Top, where it was placed and in a location that was determined to be as close as possible to the original location. The stone turned the correct direction, which is essentially to the east, so that Owen would be facing the rising sun and be in a position to rise during the rapture, as he was a very devout Christian. And also the correct depth. So this was very challenging to get this correct, and a great deal of care was taken. Well, a large quantity of cement was placed in the base along with rebar. The goal here was to ensure that this stone can never be removed again, that it's there for at least the next 120 years, if not 250 years. This is a very, very solid base. And here's a group of the people who were there at the time that the cementing was complete. That's Michelle, Zach, our chairperson on the left, Cliff Douglas, the contractor in the fluorescent shirt. That's yours truly. Start peeking out from the back, Paul Ayers in the center. Mark Goldschmidt, who is helping with landscaping the top, and then the three workers who helped Cliff with this project. This is Mark going over the lettering. It was painted on the stone that we had, and it was felt appropriate to paint the lettering again. And then on the right, we have Cliff Douglas sealing the stone. And sealing the stone has a double purpose here. The main purpose is to make graffiti, which we hope will not appear, but if it does, much easier to wipe off without damaging the stone. And also the sealant should help preserve the stone for the future. So this is the end result. The photo on the left, obviously 1907. The photo on the right, 2021. And I think we did a pretty good job of restoring the gravesite. I'm looking forward to the brush growing back and it looking even more like it did and like it was meant to originally. And the site will be maintained. The land will be transferred to a conservancy, and the community benefit fund that we have will be used to preserve the site, to educate people about its significance. So thank you very much. We hope to preserve the memory of Jason and Owen Brown.